A low wind howls across an endless desert plain. Grains of sand scatter like whispers of time, uncovering what the earth has kept hidden for thousands of years. Beneath the shifting dunes lies stone, smooth, carved, deliberate. No tool of our age could have shaped it with such precision. Archaeologists once believed civilization began with the first farmers, but this discovery defies every timeline. Each uncovered column hints at knowledge far beyond its supposed age. Who carved these perfect lines when the world still slept in darkness? The air is heavy with secrets, and every gust of wind feels like the breath of ghosts long forgotten. As the sun dips below the horizon, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The dust remembers what history chose to forget. Morning arrives with a pale sun and the hum of discovery. The team gathers around the exposed structure, realizing it is no mere tomb or temple. It is an entire city buried beneath centuries of silence. Every wall tells a story older than written language. Patterns of stars, waves, and unknown symbols seem to map both sky and sea. The deeper they dig, the more their instruments fail, as if the earth itself resists revelation. Something ancient stirs below, wrapped in the patience of millennia. The first civilization, perhaps, the one that time itself forgot. By midday, fragments of pottery and tools emerge, crafted with precision unthinkable for their supposed age. The historian's notes tremble with disbelief. The patterns on the shards match constellations that existed over 12,000 years ago. It was as if these people understood the stars long before recorded astronomy. The desert's silence grows heavier, as though the land itself listens to the rediscovery of its own forgotten story. Night falls again. The team gathers around the fire, the flicker of flames casting moving shadows across tired faces. The archaeologist speaks softly, reading from his notes, measurements, coordinates, patterns that align perfectly with the rising of Orion. The professor listens in silence, his gaze lost in the night sky. Above them, the same stars shine, indifferent witnesses to civilizations that rose and fell before humanity even began to remember. As dawn breaks, the archaeologist notices something strange. The sand has shifted overnight, revealing a dark passage leading deeper underground. Cold air rises from the opening, carrying a scent of stone and age. Silence grips the camp as they realize this is no random structure. It was built to be found. Whatever waits below has survived both flood and fire, guarded by time itself. The first step downward feels like crossing the threshold into prehistory. The light from their torches flickers against the smooth stone walls as they step cautiously into the passage. The air grows cold, thick with the scent of minerals and time. Every footstep echoes like a voice in a vast chamber unseen. The carvings here are older than those above, more refined, more deliberate, telling stories of stars, floods, and fire from the sky. It feels less like a tomb and more like a memory carved in stone. The historian runs her fingers across a panel, depicting figures gazing at constellations no longer visible in the modern sky. The archaeologist whispers, almost afraid to believe his own words. This place predates civilization itself. Deeper still, they reach an immense chamber, perfectly circular, with walls that rise higher than their lights can reach. In the center stands an altar of polished stone, untouched by time. Around it, the carvings tell of a cataclysm. Great waves swallowing cities, stars falling from the heavens. The historian realizes that these are not myths, they're records. The flood legends of every culture may have started here. The archaeologist feels his pulse quicken. This place is rewriting everything humanity thought it knew about its own beginning. As they document the site, the assistant discovers something embedded in the altar. A fragment of a metallic sphere, impossibly smooth and uncorroded. Its surface reflects their faces distorted by age and time. Instruments fail to read its composition, The professor insists they leave it undisturbed, but curiosity wins. When the archaeologist lifts it, a soft resonance hums through the chamber like a heartbeat from deep within the earth. The lights flicker. For the first time, the historian feels fear replace wonder. Outside, a sandstorm begins to roar above ground, sealing the entrance. Below, the team is trapped in a world that feels increasingly alive. The carvings now seem to shift when unobserved. The historian reads a sequence of symbols aloud, realizing they form a map. A message preserved from those who once walked the earth before recorded time. The symbols speak of a world drowned and reborn, and of a knowledge deliberately hidden beneath stone. The professor murmurs that humanity is not the first to rise from ruin. The torches flicker again, as if the chamber itself listens. Hours pass, and silence becomes unbearable. The archaeologist sits beside the altar, his hands trembling as he stares at the metallic sphere resting before him. It hums faintly, like a distant echo of something immense. Suddenly, the historian notices faint vibrations along the floor, rhythmic, purposeful, as though the city itself still remembers the heartbeat of its creators. The storm above rages on, yet beneath the earth, another force begins to awaken. Whatever civilization built this place may not have vanished. They may have left something behind, waiting for someone to return. The air inside the ruins grows heavier as they follow the faint vibration deeper underground. Dust shimmers in the narrow beams of their lights. The passage narrows, leading to a sealed stone door covered in unfamiliar writing. The historian realizes the carvings are not words. They are equations, precise and symmetrical, suggesting knowledge of geometry far beyond their time. The professor's voice trembles as he says that whoever built this place understood the movement of the stars with impossible accuracy. The archaeologist presses his palm to the stone, and for the briefest moment, warmth pulses from beneath it, as though the city still breathes. With a deep grinding sound, the sealed door begins to shift. Cold air rushes out, carrying the scent of stone and age untouched for millennia. They enter a vast chamber unlike anything they've seen. Walls carved from a single piece of stone, the ceiling painted with constellations that match none known today. In the center lies a colossal disk of crystal, partially buried in sand. The historian kneels beside it, her torchlight reflecting through its translucent surface. Inside the crystal, faint lines move, like liquid, patterns forming and fading. The team realizes they are looking at something alive, preserved beyond comprehension. The archaeologist touches the surface of the disk. A faint light flickers within, pulsing in rhythm with their breaths. Symbols across the walls ignite like fireflies, awakening after centuries of darkness. The historian gasps. The symbols form a timeline, stretching across thousands of years, describing not one but multiple rises and falls of human civilization. The professor whispers that this city predates even the ice. If true, every chapter of human history has been written on the ashes of forgotten worlds. The air vibrates with sound, a low tone that feels alive in their bones. The vibration deepens into a low hum, resonating through the stone floor. Dust falls from the ceiling as if the city responds to their presence. The historian deciphers more of the carvings. They describe a great flood that ended an age of light, a civilization erased by its own creation. The metallic sphere on the altar in the previous chamber begins to glow faintly, as though awakened. The professor murmurs that the sphere and the crystal are linked, two halves of a memory long buried. The archaeologist realizes they have not just uncovered a ruin, they've reactivated it. The hum stops suddenly. Silence falls thick and absolute. Then, faint symbols begin to appear on the floor, lines connecting to form a circular pattern beneath their feet. The crystal glows once more, projecting faint images into the air. A map of the world, but not as they know it. Continents are different, larger, unfamiliar. half submerged. The historian realizes what they are seeing is Earth before recorded history, a world that existed before humanity began again. The professor's voice breaks as he says, "They were us." The archaeologist steps back, breath trembling. The truth finally takes shape. Civilization did not begin. It began again. The holographic map fades into darkness, leaving the chamber silent once more. The air feels charged, as though the walls themselves remember what was just revealed. The archaeologist's mind races. If this city once stood upon the surface, where is its story in human memory? The historian examines the carvings again, her voice low and trembling. These weren't mere depictions of the past. They were warnings. The professor, pale and shaken, mutters that human civilization might be far older and far more fragile than anyone has dared imagine. A faint sound echoes in the tunnels, rhythmic and distant, like footsteps in stone. Something else stirs in the depths of the forgotten world. Following the faint sound, they find a narrow stairway spiraling deeper underground. The air becomes cold and metallic, heavy with moisture. Torches reveal a lower chamber filled with strange figures, stone statues of men and women in perfect detail, each caught mid-motion, as if frozen by time itself. The historian realizes the eyes are too lifelike to be mere art. The professor whispers that these are not statues but something else. Bodies preserved in mineral over ages beyond counting. The archaeologist's breath catches as he sees the tools still in their hands. Devices more advanced than anything known from the ancient world. They move cautiously between the figures, documenting every detail. Some are adorned in intricate garments preserved as impressions in the stone. Others caught in expressions of terror or awe. The historian finds a panel behind them depicting the same people, alive, surrounded by glowing discs and symbols of energy. It tells of an age when humans mastered forces far beyond their control. The carvings end abruptly in chaos. Waves, fire, and collapse. The assistant whispers that this city didn't just fall, it was buried to hide its power. Deeper within the chamber lies a door unlike the others. Metallic, seamless, untouched by corrosion. Strange markings pulse faintly across its surface. The archaeologist approaches, feeling warmth radiating from the metal. The historian warns him to stop, but he places his hand upon it anyway. The moment he does, the symbols shift, forming patterns that resemble constellations. The ground trembles softly as a low hum fills the air. The professor realizes the city was not just a place of worship or refuge, it was a machine. Whatever power sleeps beyond this door once sustained an entire civilization. The door opens with a slow, echoing rumble, revealing a circular chamber filled with strange machinery, still humming faintly after millennia. A shaft of cold blue light rises from the floor, suspended in perfect stillness. Around it are rings of metallic inscriptions depicting both stars and human forms intertwined. The historian realizes this was their heart, a source of energy, knowledge, and perhaps destruction. The professor murmurs that this may have been the power that ended their world. The archaeologist steps into the light, his shadow stretching across the ancient floor. For a moment, the chamber responds, as if recognizing him. Light flares from the core chamber, flooding the ruins with a cold luminescence. The team shields their eyes as the blue glow intensifies, forming moving shapes in the air. The light resolves into scenes, cities of crystal rising beside vast oceans, towers reaching toward the clouds, and skies filled with strange aerial craft. The historian gasps, realizing they are witnessing the memories of the city itself. This was a world advanced beyond imagination, one that harnessed the power of nature and the stars. Yet beneath the beauty, something feels wrong. The people look upward in fear as a great shadow falls across the sky. Progress and doom are woven together, and humanity's oldest story begins to repeat. The visions shift again, this time showing the people of that lost civilization gathering around their city's great machine, the same one that now hums before them. Their leaders speak passionately, gesturing to the sky where fragments of fire descend. They had learned too much, reached too far. The historian whispers that they were trying to prevent their own extinction. The professor, his voice trembling, explains that the machine was meant to preserve their knowledge before the world ended. The city was not a tomb. It was a message, a seed of remembrance buried beneath time, waiting for another age of humanity to find it. A tremor shakes the chamber as the machine's hum grows louder. Dust rains from the ceiling. The crystal disk begins to spin, projecting images faster, floods consuming cities, lightning splitting the skies, mountains breaking apart. The archaeologist realizes they are seeing the end of the first world. The historian's eyes fill with tears. It wasn't nature that destroyed them, but their own creation gone out of control. The professor stumbles back, whispering that history has always been a cycle of remembrance and loss. The assistant grips the camera tightly, knowing what they're witnessing could change everything if they survive to tell it. The projections fade to black, leaving only the machine's heartbeat echoing through the chamber. Then, slowly, new symbols appear in the air, etched in light, ancient yet unmistakably human. The historian translates softly, "To those who come after, remember." Her voice trembles as she realizes the city was built for them, for the future. The archaeologist steps forward, placing the metallic sphere into the center of the glowing floor. Instantly, the room brightens. The symbols align into a final image, Earth as it is now. But a faint shadow spreads across it, growing like a storm. History is not just the past. It is warning them of what is to come. The ground begins to tremble violently as the machine roars to life. The sphere melts into light, sending pillars of blue energy racing up the walls. The historian cries out, urging them to run, but the archaeologist remains frozen, mesmerized by what he's seeing. A final vision of the ancient city sinking beneath waves of fire and water. Then the light collapses inward, plunging everything into darkness. When the dust settles, the hum is gone. The ruins fall silent once more. Humanity's first civilization has spoken, and its message burns in their minds. Those who forget the past will repeat it. Morning light breaks over the desert as silence hangs heavy over the excavation site. The storm has passed, but the air feels altered, charged, almost listening. The team emerges from the ruins, their faces gray with dust and disbelief. The archaeologist clutches the camera, the only proof of what they saw below. The historian's notebook trembles in her hands, filled with sketches of symbols that defy translation. The professor moves slowly, eyes distant, muttering that knowledge this powerful was never meant to be uncovered. The world around them feels eerily still, as if time itself waits to hear what they will do next. Back at their desert camp, the team examines the surviving footage. The camera flickers with images of the crystal disk, the glowing symbols, the moment of collapse. Every frame looks impossible, evidence that rewrites history. The archaeologist insists they must share it, but the professor warns of disbelief, ridicule, even suppression. The historian sits silently, watching the looping recording of the glowing map of ancient Earth. She realizes that the truth might not set humanity free. It might fracture everything we believe about who we are. Outside, the wind rises again, whispering through the dunes like the voices of the forgotten. As night falls, headlights appear in the distance, vehicles approaching from the horizon. The archaeologist lowers the screen, sensing unease. The professor mutters that word of their discovery must have spread. A group of officials arrives under the cover of darkness, their uniforms marked with the insignia of an international archaeological authority. Polite but firm, they demand all recordings and artifacts for evaluation. The historian protests, but the archaeologist hesitates, torn between duty to truth and fear of what might happen if the evidence disappears forever. The official's tone leaves no doubt. The past must remain buried. By dawn, the camp is dismantled. The officials load sealed crates into their trucks, artifacts, samples, and hard drives, all labeled confidential. The archaeologist stands in silence, watching as years of discovery vanish into dust. The historian turns to him, eyes filled with quiet defiance. She whispers that knowledge cannot be erased. It will find its way back to the world. The professor, exhausted, says nothing, only looks toward the ruins one last time, his expression unreadable. Somewhere beneath the sand, the city still sleeps, waiting for another age to listen. As the sun climbs higher, the team prepares to leave the desert. The archaeologist looks once more toward the dunes where the city lies buried again, now sealed by time and secrecy. He knows what they saw was real. The historian records her final entry, her voice steady. We were not the first. And if we forget, we won't be the last. The professor closes his eyes, whispering that humanity's greatest danger has never been ignorance. It has been forgetting. The wind sweeps across the sand, erasing their footprints, as though the earth itself prefers silence over remembrance. Years pass. The world has moved on, the desert reclaimed by silence. Yet deep beneath the sands, the ruins remain untouched until a faint tremor ripples across the region. Satellite scans reveal a geometric anomaly beneath the dunes, something impossible to explain. Meanwhile, in a quiet university office, thousands of miles away, the archaeologist sits alone before an old, dust-covered box. Inside lies a single hard drive, the hidden copy the assistant smuggled out. The faint hum of the city echoes in his memory. He knows he cannot stay silent any longer. The world may not be ready for the truth, but the truth is ready for the world. He reconnects with the historian, now working as a lecturer abroad. Over a crackling video call, he tells her the data is intact. The recordings, the scans, the translations. Her face lights up with equal parts fear and determination. The professor passed away years ago, his journals sealed in an archive that no one dared open. The assistant vanished soon after, leaving only a brief message. Some truths protect themselves. The historian leans forward and whispers that the world is ready. Humanity stands on the edge of another age of discovery, or another age of forgetting. Together they decide to release the findings anonymously. The footage of the underground city, the carvings, the glowing crystal disk, all uploaded to the web through hidden servers. Within hours, it spreads across the world. Scientists, skeptics, and believers alike argue over its authenticity. Governments dismiss it as fabrication, yet others quietly begin their own investigations. The historian watches the world react with awe and disbelief. Somewhere deep down, she knows that the truth is no longer theirs. It belongs to everyone. The story they unearthed has finally escaped the silence of the sand. As debates rage across the globe, teams of explorers return to the desert. Drones and scanners map the sands, but the original entrance is gone, buried again by shifting dunes. Only a faint resonance remains deep below, a pulse detectable on seismic instruments. Some claim it is natural. Others believe the city still lives. The historian walks alone to the ridge where their camp once stood. She feels the same desert wind that once whispered secrets of the past. In her mind, the voices of those ancient builders return, repeating their message. Remember, night falls across the desert once more. The stars shimmer above, reflected faintly in the buried crystal chambers below. Far underground, in total darkness, the ancient machine flickers with one final spark, an echo of memory, a heartbeat of a civilization long gone but never truly dead. Above, the archaeologist's voice echoes in narration. We are the children of forgotten worlds. The earth remembers every dream we bury, and one day it will tell them again. The camera lingers on the horizon as wind sweeps across the dunes, reshaping them, just as time reshapes truth. The lost civilization is gone, but its story has begun anew.